Okay, welcome everybody. Friday coffee. Yeah, come up to the table if there's a spot at the table. Welcome. We're glad that you're here. I'm Susan Neal-Dottie. And I'm glad that you're here today. It's a wonderful day. I'm glad that you're all here. We're going to start off with get the PowerPoint moving.
Is it on?
Let's see. There we go. Okay. Welcome to everybody in the room and to all of our folks that are joining us by Zoom. Right now, everybody joining us on Zoom is muted. That way we prevent any unwanted background noise. But if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. We are going to have, after our program, we'll have an opportunity for some question and answer. And I hope that we all participate, whether we're in the room or we're on Zoom. But we do ask, if you're on Zoom, please do not record any part of this session for reuse without permission. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to thank our sponsor for today, RE/MAX Jefferson City. That's Larry Keating. He could not be here, but we appreciate him for that sponsorship. We know that many of us know that Larry and Sharon Keating have had longtime support of our community. They have over 50 realtors, and we appreciate them for their support of the chamber and the community. So our sponsor, RE/MAX Jefferson City. Just want to let you know that you can be a sponsor too if you'd like. Rochelle Weaver, I don't know, are you on the Zoom call? Do you want to make an announcement about that sponsorship? Rochelle isn't with us, so I'll tell you that we do have a sponsor each time. It's an opportunity for you not only to get exposure in this room and highlight yourself. Larry couldn't be here today, but we would have invited you to come here and share a little bit about your organization. We also promote you on our emails, and then you work with Rochelle from Cumulus Media to get some media advertising, some ads on Cumulus stations. So if you would like to be a sponsor of a future Friday Coffee, just let me know. Yeah, we have a few people joining us. Come on in. Welcome new members. So Denny, do you think that I just did that where you walked in and your name's up there? So our new members for this month, we have BJ's Restaurant and Lounge, Angelia Etler, Cosmic Sauce, Johnny Eaker, Missouri Retailer Association, David Overfeld, Nothing Bunt Cakes, Misty Gibler, Promo Realty, Ashley Peterson, T. Stewart Farms, that's Tracy Stewart, Three Rivers Hospice, Denny Hawkins, Ultimate Distribution, Scott Drinkard, and Westland Exteriors. We appreciate those new members. With that, I thought we'd go around the room and introduce ourselves, see who else is here. So I don't know who, you want to go ahead and start over there, Blake?
Sure. I'm Blake Morris with Enco Workforce Solutions.
I'm Aaron Winston with Inco.
My name is Aaron Deshay, and I'm with Potentiality Coaching.
Mike Lester, City Council, Ward 2.
Amy Rogers, Council for Drug Review.
Frank Reichert, Evening Rotary, and Capillary Newspaper Alliance. We be right next door here at Grace Episcopal Church. Most Tuesday evenings at 5:30 for an educational program. Also international service work. You're invited. Tuesday evenings, 5:30.
Billy Jordan with the Art Gallery Studio.
Taylor Yoakum, the Architects Alliance. Jennifer Rico, Central Missouri Foster Care and Adoption.
Good morning, everybody. Ashley Varner, JC Schools Foundation.
Natalie Niva with the library.
Ashley Timmy, Chamber Staff.
Gary Plummer with the Chamber, and we'll introduce these two gentlemen in just a minute.
We'll go to the outer ring. Sean?
Sean Sack, Bill Chamber Staff.
Missy with the Chamber. Patricia Barnes with the Capital City Job Center.
Phil Baldwin, Governor.
Connie Horn, Candle with the Suites. Heather Whiteside, I'm the LCSW for Three Rivers Hospice in Jefferson City.
I'm Denny Hawkins with Three Rivers Hospice. I'm the administrator
and we're new in town and new to the chamber, so.
Good, welcome. Glad we have a few new members here, so glad to have you here. Anyone that wants to introduce themselves that's on Zoom, feel free to unmute yourself and just give us your name and your business.
Good morning, I'm Darcy Crane with the American Cancer Society.
Darlene Simpson with Buzz Communications.
Adrienne Heckman with Central Bank.
Carrie Turgeon, the mayor.
Stephanie Lehman, CNS Business Services.
Diane Gillespie, Jefferson City Convention Visitors Bureau.
John Mosley, Lincoln University.
And Ryan Henry with Williams Keepers.
This is Andrea Holloway. Happy Friday, everybody, with Council for Drug-Free Youth.
Anybody else? I'll pause if anyone else wants to unmute and introduce themselves. If not, I'll go ahead and move on to chamber announcements. Last call for Zoomers. Good. Well, glad to have everybody here today. Announcements. First, I'm going to call Natalie up here to give our first announcement.
Yeah, so social media forum happens every month. It's always the third Thursday of the month. But this month we're really excited. We're having the marketing manager from Silver Dollar City Zoom in. If you've attended our social media forums, you know that we use a lot of their content as examples. So we were able to reach out to them and they agreed to come train all of us. So if you don't usually come to social media forum, you absolutely should. Make plans to come to this one. If you have staff who handle your marketing who don't usually come, this is a really good one to get into. So we're really excited about it.
Good, thank you, Natalie. And we really appreciate you and Kenny for leading that social media forum. I always promote that as an opportunity for our members to attend and learn every month. And I appreciate you guys so much for doing that. Another opportunity for you to network. I always like to mention our Chamber Connection. So it's Thursday the 17th from 4 to 5:30. It's at Barbino this month downtown. Their sponsor is Central Bank and Central Trust Company, along with Cat Country and KWS. So encourage you to come and network, bring your business cards. Also, it leads right into downtown as one of their Thursday night live concerts that night. So it's great timing. So that's next Thursday. Those events are always on the third Thursday of each month at a different chamber member restaurant. Is there anybody here or on Zoom that is in the leadership class that wants to talk about the Battle of the Brew?
Good morning, this is Deerhoff. I can speak to Battle of the Brews. So this year's event is on Saturday, July 24th at the new amphitheater. Planning it is moving quickly. Tickets are officially on sale as of last week. You can find them on Ticketmaster, and our plan is to have some also available in print form, available at the chamber. We're finalizing our live entertainment, so we're really excited about the couple of bands that will be there. Follow along on our Facebook page. Thank you.
Good, thank you. That's a great event, a great opportunity for you to support the community. A lot of great vendors there, and those folks, we really appreciate the leadership class for presenting that. So the 6th annual Battle of the Brews. Another event that you will be getting more information about. We're so excited about to have our Chamber Gala in person. We had our membership annual meeting in January, but we didn't feel like it was safe really to have an in-person event at that time, obviously. So the in-person social part of the Chamber annual meeting in Gala will be September 10th. It's going to be at Canterbury Hill Winery. Havana Nights Gala is the theme. Our co-chairs, Amber Brondell, Travis Stevens, and their committee have been working. We will be releasing more information about that and the opportunity for you to secure a sponsorship. But we are really looking for the opportunity for us to highlight, present some more awards, recognize outgoing board and volunteers at the Havana Nights Gala. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Gary Plummer because he's going to announce our presenters.
Thank you very much, Susan. Welcome, everyone. We've got a full house here at the Chamber this morning, and I'm really pleased to hear all the folks who introduced themselves on Zoom. Welcome to those folks, especially to Dr. Mosley from Lincoln University. Glad to have you with us this morning. And Mayor Turgeon, time permitting at the end of this program, we'd love to call on you for some brief comments about what's going on in the city of Jefferson. So thank you very much for being with us. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce a couple of gentlemen who are going to give you a little look backwards at the last session of the Missouri legislature, but also a look forward on what's coming next and what are some issues that they're following and that the business community should follow. I want to start off by introducing Senator Mike Bernskoetter, who represents District 6, which includes Cole and 6 other central Missouri counties. He was elected to the Senate in 2018 after serving 8 years in the Missouri House of Representatives. He and his wife have owned and operated Arts Pest Control for the last 32 years, in addition to his duties at the legislature. He's a member of numerous organizations here in our area, most notably the Jefferson City Area Chamber of Commerce. We're proud to have him as a member. Senator Bernskoetter is a lifelong resident of Cole County and currently lives in Jefferson City with his wife, Jeanette. They have 4 children and 7 grandchildren. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you very much for having me.
Glad to have you here this morning. Next, I want to introduce Matt Panik, who is the Vice President of, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
great. Vice President of Government Affairs for the Missouri Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He's been with them for 4 years. He oversees the Chamber's legislative and political operation, serving as the Chamber's lead lobbyist in Jefferson City. Matt previously served as Chief of Staff to Missouri State Treasurer Eric Schmidt, and he served in that same role in Schmidt's State Senate office. He managed Mr. Schmidt's successful campaign for State Treasurer in 2016, and he directed the transition team, hiring key personnel for that office. Matt received his BA in political science from the University of Dayton and his JD from St. Louis University School of Law. He's a member of the Missouri Bar. Matt lives in Columbia, Missouri with his wife and their 2 sons. Matt, great to have you with us this morning.
Thank you for the invite. Appreciate it.
If you all don't know, Matt's office is just a couple of steps down the alley from us, and we consider them to be not only geographically but philosophically a very close working partner with the Chamber. We're glad to have him here today, speaking on behalf of the entire business community in the state of Missouri. We're going to start off with a question for Senator Bernskoetter. Senator, what would you consider to be some of the biggest wins in the past session, particularly interests very specific to Jefferson City and some of the main institutions in our community?
So as far as like Chamber and what they're concerned with, I would say like the COVID liability protections that we were able to put in, protect businesses and schools and hospitals, that kind of thing. The Wayfair fix, we've been trying to get the fix, if y'all are familiar with the Wayfair fix, it's a internet sales tax, and we've been trying to get that done for several years. We've got the Wayfair fix done. There was the foster care and adoption. There was a lot of good things in the foster care and adoption field that we did. I don't know if the Chamber is interested in PDMP. Were they interested in that? We were. Several of the members were. Yeah. The PDMP, the prescription drug monitoring program that was been talking about for, I know the 11 years that I've been there, as Brad talked about before that was a fix. And then the gas tax would, most Chamber members would probably be interested in the gas tax. Those are some of the biggest issues that I can think of.
So Matt, let's come to you next. Looking at it more from a statewide perspective, what did you consider to be some of the big successes for the past session?
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what Senator Bernskoetter said. Things that are good for Jefferson City are generally good for St. Louis, Kansas City, and the rest of the state. The gas tax is probably at the top of our list. The state gas tax, motor fuel tax, has not been increased since the mid-1990s. I think when then Governor John Ashcroft worked on that issue. Missouri has one of the lowest gas taxes in the state or in the country. And what this will do is increase it at 2.5 cents per gallon a year over 5 years. So a total increase of 12.5 cents. Right now, Missouri's gas tax is 17 cents. So it's a fairly significant increase. It is phased in. And this bill does offer a rebate. So if you collect your receipts and compile them at the end of the year, you are able to get a refund on the increased portion of the gas tax. So we've seen that done in South Carolina to pretty good effect. They also had a very low state gas tax and had to do something different to increase it. The COVID liability issue as well as another top issue for the Missouri Chamber. We had about 800 businesses sign on to a letter asking for action on that. Normally we do that on other issues. We get 40 or 50 businesses to sign it. So we knew we were kind of going down the right path on an issue that's really important to Missouri businesses. Like Senator Bernskoetter said, that will protect all businesses, churches, schools from exposure claims. So think about walking into a grocery store, someone claims they caught it there. First of all, it'll be really hard to prove that you caught it at that one location, unless that's the only place you went for basically a month. But it will basically make it harder for plaintiffs to prove that they caught it at your grocery store, at a nursing home, at a school, at a church. So we're really proud about that victory, and we expect the governor to sign it here before too long. So those are probably the top two business-related issues that we were able to work on this year.
So Matt, just to follow up on one issue there, and Senator, I'd love a comment from you too as well. One of the biggest challenges facing businesses of every size right now is finding qualified workers. And I know there was some action taken to try to address that through the unemployment system. Matt, if you wouldn't mind leading off with any comments about what the legislature or the governor's done to try to improve that situation.
Sure. So obviously with the pandemic, we saw record unemployment, not only in Missouri, but across the country. Missouri is recovering. I think our unemployment rate is near 4%. Before the pandemic, I think it was hovering around 3%. So we still have some work to do. But as of tomorrow, the extra federal unemployment benefits, the $300 a week, some other programs will end in Missouri. Governor Parson announced that about a month ago. He had to give 30-day notice. But I can't tell you how many members we've heard from, not only in hospitality, tourism, but in manufacturing, all across the economy, saying this extra $300 is really keeping people on the sidelines. So that will go into effect as of tomorrow. And then the governor also put in $300 million of CARES money to what's called the Unemployment Trust Fund. So this is what all employers pay into. So when the workers are laid off, those workers access unemployment from that trust fund. If that amount gets too low, employers pay a higher rate. So the governor put that money in to really make sure employers aren't hit with a higher tax rate. So those are two things that we're really happy the governor took action on.
Absolutely. Do you have a comment on that, Senator?
Yeah, I would agree with Matthew. When the governor announced that he was going to end the taking of the federal dollars to help out, there's a lot of studies that show that, if you have 12 weeks unemployment or 20 weeks unemployment, that people, collect that unemployment until the last, week or so, and then they go find a job. So I think, stopping the federal unemployment benefits, hopefully we'll get more people out there. Like Matthew said, we're doing pretty good overall after the pandemic. I think we're close to the top 10 as far as employment goes, but stopping the extra benefits, I think will get people off the sidelines and hopefully back out into the business world.
Very good. Well, Senator, so far we've been talking about some of the successful outcomes from the legislature. I wonder if we could lead off with you and flip that and have you describe one or two issues that you were disappointing that you were not able to see accomplished in the session.
I try to forget about our failures. But as far as the session goes, I mean, we did not pass a lot of legislation this year. There's only like 60 some bills, and 20 some of those are budget bills. So there's only around 40 some bills that were passed, which is a small amount. I think last year, even during COVID, when we took off for 6 weeks, we still passed like 90, I think, you remember?
I think that's right. It's more than this year.
Yeah, it was more than this year. There was a lot of things that, one chamber or the other couldn't get across the finish line. There was a lot of jockeying back and forth from the Senate to the House. I'm actually, one thing that I can think of off the top of my head is I'm chairman of the Ag Committee, and we weren't able to get some of the ag tax credits. They were going to expire this year, and they weren't able to get them across the finish line. That was one of the things that I'm disappointed in. There's a lot of things, like I don't know what people feel about gaming. We've been talking about gaming for a while, trying to expand gaming. That didn't make it across the finish line. There was a lot of things. There was a lot of big issues that did cross the finish line, but there were still a lot of big issues that didn't. It was one of those kind of years where, and it's weird, you never know how these sessions are going to go. Like one year we had our Speaker of the House, when I was in the House, he had like the 3 E's. One of them was education, energy, and something else. I don't even remember what the third E was, but at the end of the session, we were talking about captive deer. So it's just, you just never know how things are going to turn out. And there was a lot of things that didn't get across the finish line that probably should have.
Very good. Matt, what would be your perspective on that?
Sure. So, while the COVID liability bill passed, in our view, it's a little late. And there's not one person to point at or one reason, but most bills have passed. So we're in session from January until mid-May. And I'm sure you noticed, a little less traffic downtown after the middle of May. And bills have passed in regular session go into effect August 28th. I think it's by the Constitution. That's just the day that all bills go into effect after the governor signs it. However, you can put what's called an emergency clause on a bill to make it go into effect earlier. For COVID liability, we wanted that protection to be in place for businesses as soon as possible. We would have preferred a special session sometime last year. That didn't happen. So we tried to get an emergency clause. Senator Bernskoetter supported that. However, we didn't get enough votes to pass the emergency clause in the Senate. So that died. So the bill still passed, but it goes into effect in August rather than as soon as Governor Parsons would have signed it. And in Missouri, you can't sort of look back. So any exposure claim or anything that happened last year in the pandemic or up until it's effective wouldn't have these additional protections. So kind of technical, I know, but we wanted it to go into effect as soon as possible. And unfortunately, it'll be late August before we have those protections. So, well, at the end of the day, we have protections, just maybe not as soon as we would have wanted them.
Understand. Thank you very much. So along those same lines, there's been a lot of conversations about special sessions. I've heard several different issues that may be raised and the possibility of multiple special sessions. Matt, we could lead off with you on this. What are some of the unfinished business that you expect to be at the top of the list if the legislature were to be called back for a special session?
Sure. So I'll mention two that have been talked about. I think the governor said he's had about 13 recommendations for special sessions. The first one is the FRA, Federal Reimbursement Allowance. So this is a tax that healthcare providers pay to the state. State uses that pot of money to go to the federal government and bring back more money. I think it's worth $2 billion in terms of the matching dollars. The state has a $35 billion budget, so it's a fairly big portion of the state's budget. Got hung up on some amendments this year, didn't pass. So I expect the governor to call that at some point. And then redistricting for the congressional districts. Normally that's done, but of course, like just about everything else, the census was delayed by the pandemic. So the state is getting its numbers later, and they'll have to come in for a special session later this year to finalize the congressional lines. So those are two that I think will actually happen, and we'll see about the others, I guess.
So just to clarify, would those be separate sessions or lumped together?
They would be called separately, but the governor could call them to run at the same time, just for efficiency's sake. So that'll be his call though.
I know Diane Gillespie would probably like to see more special sessions.
Yes.
We'll try to string them out.
We would appreciate that.
Senator, what's your perspective on that?
So Matthew just mentioned that they could run concurrently, but I don't actually think they could run concurrently because I think the FRA has to be done by July.
Right, that is an earlier timeline.
And we won't actually get the numbers on the census till August or September. So I think they will be separate if that helps any, Diane. Yeah, those are two things, you know, like Matthew said, the governor mentioned he had 13 calls. I actually called for one to do the ag issues that didn't get done. The redistricting, I'm actually chairman of the redistricting committee, so I will be involved in the redistricting for the congressional districts. If you're not familiar with that, every 10 years we change lines or could change lines. And this is the year to do that. When I first got elected 11 years ago, my first 2 years, I had the eastern half of Cole County. And then the next 6 years as a state rep, I got the rural part of Cole County and a little bit of Miller County. So the lines can change drastically with redistricting, and it would cover House seats, Senate seats, and congressional seats. If you remember 10 years ago, we lost a congressman in Missouri. We had 9 and now we only have 8. Those are some of the things we have to look where the population is and change lines. So that will be something that we'll do later on this year. I know another one that I heard people talk about was the police funding in Kansas City. I think they're trying to move some dollars around and use them in different ways. And some of the state reps or senators were talking about doing something with that. But those are the ones I've heard about. Are there any others that you know that they talked about?
Maybe broader election
reform.
I mean, Secretary of State is.
Yeah, election reform is one of them, yeah.
So what have we not covered this morning, Senator or Matt, that you'd like to speak to before we open it up to questions and answers?
Well, one of the things we haven't done for many years was education reform. We got a scholarship across the finish line for even the neediest children. As you saw, you know, like when we keep talking about the pandemic, you know, there was need for, you know, not everybody can learn in a Zoom meeting, you know, or a teacher teaching in Zoom. So we came up with scholarships for the neediest kids. We also put $7.5 billion in for K through 12. We have $114 million for transportation this year, and then $1.4 billion for colleges and community colleges, state tech, and that kind of thing. Those things were some of the things that I think were important. We also, for Jeff City, I have a bill called the Capital Complex Tax Credit, and this would allow people to donate money. There's 5 buildings in the Capitol Complex. There's the Governor's Mansion, the Capitol, the old Supreme Court building, the old Highway Department building, and there's one other. There's 5 buildings in that Capitol Complex that will allow people to donate money and get tax credit for that, and it would allow us to use that money to maintain the Capitol and the Governor's Mansion, those buildings.
Is the Union Hotel part of the Capitol Complex, where the Amtrak station was?
No, it's not.
All right.
I got it here somewhere, I think, but I'm missing one of the buildings, the old highway building.
Oh, okay.
The old highway building, the federal courthouse, the Governor's Mansion. I think it's the Supreme Court building, the Supreme Court building. Yeah.
Matt, I know you follow a lot of budget issues as well. Were there any things that the state chamber was tracking?
Yeah, there were a few. There's about $10 million for broadband, which is a relatively small amount to, you know, the larger picture of getting broadband to every corner of the state. And there's about $25 million for transportation cost share. So this is when the state partners with municipalities and counties to work on specific projects. And then, you know, outside the budget, related to what Senator Bernskoetter said about education workforce, that's a huge issue for us. Obviously, you know, employers finding workers to make sure they have the right skills to actually fill the jobs. There's a bill that passed that would allow $529 to be used not only for higher education, but for apprenticeships as well. Missouri is one of the leading states in the country for a number of apprenticeships. And this was just kind of a common sense thing to pass to allow. Not everyone's going to go to college. There's, you know, a need for only so many political science majors or history majors. But we need to make sure people have vocational training, skills training to fill all the jobs that are out there. We can talk about all the policy things, but making sure people have the ability to get the training they need to find jobs. We thought it was a really important update the state made.
Very good. Well, the mayor just sent you all a note here, wanting to thank Senator and other legislators for their support of the Bicentennial Bridge. It's in the chat. If you all have access to that, there's a couple of other issues that she wanted to cover, including the public safety tax on in November, and a capital improvement tax coming up on August 3. So sorry that we missed that opportunity with the mayor, but we'll have that in the future, I'm sure. Let's open it up now for any questions or comments, either from the folks on Zoom or in the room, and we're going to start with Frank.
Could Senator Bernskoetter expand upon some of the agricultural bills that did not pass and your preference on them?
So it was Senate Bill 36. It started out as anhydrous ammonia, which the farmers use anhydrous ammonia, and right now it's being regulated by Department of Ag and Department of Natural Resources. And so they're kind of duplicating services, and farmers don't like to come back out of the field to tell the Department of Ag what they're doing, and then come back, tell the Department of Natural Resources doing. So they decided on regulating it through Department of Natural Resources. It also has something to do with federal rules that are coming down. They're trying to make sure we line up with the federal rules, but that's how the bill started out as. But then we also added the MASBA tax credits, which are agricultural tax credits that allow people, like, for instance, the meat processing plants that we had trouble with last year by keeping up getting meat. This would allow them to get a tax credit to expand their businesses. I can't remember what else in it. There was 4 or 5 components in it, but it was mostly tax credits besides the anhydrous ammonia.
Other questions? Susan, do we want folks on Zoom to just unmute themselves and ask?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, feel free to do that if you're on Zoom. Any questions in the room?
I'll ask the Senator, what type of bills are you planning on bringing forward next year?
So if we don't get a special session on agriculture, I will bring up the agriculture issues again next year. I don't know, I have a list of the bills that I filed that didn't make it across the finish line. A lot of times, even though legislation may not have your name on it, sometimes you get an amendment that does away with your need to file those bills again. The only ones that I can think of off the top of my head, I'm not the kind of guy that carries a lot of legislation, but the only one that I can think of off the top of my head would be the agriculture issues.
And what's the timing on that? When do you have to submit it to possibly get on the agenda for next year?
So you can start pre-filing bills in December. You pre-file before session is, the whole month of December. Session will start in first part of January. And then we have from January, February, I think it's the first part of March. So you have December, January, February to file bills, and then you can't file bills after the first part of March.
So Matt, one issue we haven't talked about yet, if I recall, was, well, you mentioned the gas tax increase. There's a chance that may be put on the ballot for a referendum. Right. You want to explain that process?
Sure. Yeah, so any bill that passes can be placed on the ballot by referendum. Americans for Prosperity filed that. I think on the last day of session. So the gas tax passed in the legislature, and then AFP filed the paperwork to put it on the ballot. They had some hiccups with technical issues, so it delayed them a little while. They'd have to get over 100,000 signatures by the end of August, though. If you remember a couple of years ago, Right to Work passed, and then labor unions gathered signatures and put that on the ballot and ultimately overturned it. But they had a much longer time period to do that. It takes a long time and a lot of money to collect signatures across the state. You have to do it in 6 of the 8 congressional districts, so you can't just go to St. Louis and get all the signatures in Kansas City. So I don't think they'll be successful in that effort. I don't know if you've heard anything different, but it seems like the governor will sign it and that gas tax will go into effect. I believe the first increase will start October 1st. So we're paying a little more, but we'll be fixing I-70 and other critical projects. So
right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, Councilman.
So I know in a number of past years, Lincoln has not been funded fully to get the federal match. And I was wondering if this year, whether Lincoln University is funded fully to get that full federal match.
I don't know if the term would be fully. We were able to get them an extra $1 million to help with their federal match. I don't know exactly the number, but they did get an extra $1 million in the budget, yes.
Was there funding specific to their nursing program this session?
Yes, there's also, either there is or there's going to be. But I think they did get some, and I think we're going to be able to get more in the next session. Yeah, I think there was some for their nursing program, and we're planning on getting more for their nursing program.
Excuse me, Dr. Mosley, would you have a comment on that question? The question was about funding for Lincoln University.
Yes. Man, let's just jump right in the fire, huh? Senator Bernskoetter? No, it was, we did receive additional funding from the state in the proposed budget that will allow us to draw down the complete amount from the federal match. And so while we will continue to pursue a full match, we're grateful for the state getting us to the point where we can continue to draw the full federal match. In the budget that's gone to the governor's desk, there is about $4 million for construction, either renovation or a new facility. We talked about renovating the current space that the School of Nursing uses, or either maybe a combination of renovations and an additional facility in that location, which would allow us to increase the number of nursing students that we could have on an annual basis. And so that's a big part of it. We're gonna use what we got. That project is about an $8 million total project. So the state was fortunate enough to fund half of it for us. And so we're going to continue to work to see either through the state or outside funding, can we get the full $8 million for what we believe is a critical program, not only to this university, but to this state when we think about the importance of healthcare.
Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate those comments. Other questions or issues? Yes, sir.
We have different positions nationwide with medical marijuana, and we've seen employers like Amazon saying that they're not going to test for such things, but of course, you know, federal funding is mandates that if you have a contract that you have to test for marijuana. Do you see any change in our position on that going forward? Because it seems like we're kind of getting a future look at it's going to be okay, even if you have a marijuana license. Personally, we can't do under our licensing, but we see people that are trying to make an acceptable behavior, acceptable practice to avoid that testing.
Yeah, I don't, when we brought that up, the medical marijuana issue, well, I guess it was actually on initiative petition when they brought that up. But then after that passed, we put in some safeguards as far as that goes. I can't imagine that we would reverse that yet. But I have heard on the radio that one of the employers wasn't going to test for that. They were still going to test for other drugs. Well, I guess they were going to test for drugs, but if you had marijuana in your system, it wasn't going to go against you. But I think
they set the precedent. It was Amazon.
Yeah. Okay. no, I can't imagine we're gonna reverse that very quickly. It may in the future when we see how other, like Amazon does with it and stuff. But right now, I would say no, it's probably not gonna be an immediate thing that we would do.
There was a good response by Ocean, and I'm sure you know what their position was.
Yeah.
Other questions? Anybody else on Zoom? Councilman, do you have another question?
So I understand the state this year has like a record surplus, around 2 million. The governor requested just 130 million for Medicaid expansion, and yet the legislature did not put money in for expansion. I also understand that expansion through the state would make an additional 1.2 million or 2 million. Yeah, 2 million, I think. Anyway, the question is why?
Why?
Yeah. And then also I'll say that, the way I look at it, I pay, and all of us pay federal taxes. And the way I look at it, without doing Medicaid expansion, our tax money, that federal money is going to other states to fund needs in other states for those individuals, and yet we're not providing services to our own people that need that services. So anyway.
So there's a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is because I didn't vote for it was because the 7 counties that I represent, Cole County actually was 40% in favor of expanding Medicaid, 60% against, and that was the highest of any of the counties that I represent, Cole County being 40%. The second reason is because, they put it on the ballot and there was no funding mechanism in it. So, if we, this might be an extreme, but what if somebody puts something on the ballot that says everybody gets a car, and you don't say how you're gonna get this car, we're just gonna have to fund everything. So that was a couple of the reasons that I didn't vote for the Medicaid expansion.
Matt, did the chamber have a position on that issue?
Yeah, we did support expansion, and we had previously, and acknowledging that the initial petition did not have a funding mechanism. 1 week from today, just down the street, there will be a hearing with Judge Beadham on the issue. A few plaintiffs saying, I am part of this newly eligible population. We do expect a decision on that. We're not involved in the case, but we are following it. Do expect a decision apparently before July 1st, which is the start of the state fiscal year, when those folks would, if Medicaid expansion had passed, would be eligible. So we'll see that, and probably an appeal up to the Western District Court of Appeals and maybe further. But we did view the economic benefits of it. We don't have a vote on it in the legislature, and certainly respect the legislature's decision. Do you think it will get sorted out one way or another, though?
Thank you for that question, Councilman. We have time for a final question. If there's anybody on Zoom or in the room that would like to bring up an issue. Frank.
I'd like the senator's opinion on citizen-initiated legislation and citizen-initiated constitutional amendments in general.
So I'm always open to you or anybody come with me, bring ideas to me, and we can sit down and talk about it. It's quite a process to get an idea to become law, but we have legislative research and they can tell us, like you have an idea and you have to put it in legal form. So we put it all in legal form, and then we go through the process. You'd have to sit down in front of a committee and say, this is why this is a great idea. And as far as initiative petitions, I don't have a problem with initiative petitions. I don't know that it should be quite as easy as it is to get initiative petitions on the ballot. Like Matthew said, it depends on the time frame. But if you have a lot of time and money, you can get almost anything on the ballot. But, so I think it should be a little bit harder to get stuff on the ballot. Otherwise, what's the point of us going up there to Capitol if you can put everything on the ballot, let people vote on it? I think it should make it a little bit harder to change. And some states don't even actually let people do that. So we actually do let people do that, but I think it might be, I don't think it would hurt to make it a little harder to get stuff on the ballot.
I'm going to invite Susan to come back up to wrap things up. But before she does that, I really want to thank Matt, the senator, for being with us this morning, and all of you for your insightful questions. Let's give them a round of applause, please.
It was a great program, and we always like to give the participants an opportunity to do some member announcements. So we do have a few minutes, so don't be shy if you have something that you want to share about your organization, something you're doing in your business, or maybe something you're involved in the community. Please share.
Evening Rotary is having our fundraising spaghetti dinner Tuesday evening, 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. drive-through right next door, $12.
Very good, good, good. Yep, and Penny, speak up so everybody on Zoom can hear us.
Grand opening. I'm with the new art gallery studio, and we're having our grand opening Saturday between 9 and 2. We'll have art demonstration with Janice Bergen. We'll have Corey Hoos, Chef Corey Hoos will be here doing bananas Foster from noon until we're done, and glass fusing all day long. Everybody is welcome. Everybody and their brother.
Very good, thanks. Anybody else? Amy?
Yes, Councilor Greg for Youth is having our opioid summit. It will be Zoom on June 22nd. The link is on our website and also on our Facebook page. Please register for one of the 5 breakout groups, and we would like to have as much input as possible to try to figure out how we can put a damper on this opioid crisis.
The city council is trying to decide about a new parking garage. There's some disagreement, I know, among the city council members about the necessity of it. I would just encourage everybody who has an opinion about need for a new parking garage to contact the council persons and express your opinion.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Anybody else in the room? Okay, great. Yeah.
Central Missouri Foster Care is hosting our second annual end of summer luau. It is August 26th. It's going to be at the Mill Bottom. We will have food trucks there. There'll be rubber tacos, twisted whip, and shrunken heads doing our drinks. So it'll be super fun. If your business is interested in sponsoring, or if you just want to get tickets for your employees, please reach out.
Good. Anybody else in the room? Or on Zoom? Does anyone want to unmute themselves on Zoom and make an announcement about something they have going on in their business, or?
Yeah, so I'll make.
Good, Denny.
It's not really for, but as our hospice is a way to give back, we're doing wheelchair washes for the nursing homes in the area. We're treating it kind of like a car wash for the residents, but we're gonna be scrubbing wheelchairs over the next month or 2 to sort of give back and take care of the elderly.
That's good, yeah. And Denny's new to the chamber. They joined yesterday, 3 Rivers Hospice. So yeah, welcome to community. We'll have a ribbon cutting soon. It's a little plug reminder. If you have an opportunity to have a ribbon cutting, the ambassadors would love to come out, whether it's you just opened your business or you're celebrating an anniversary, a milestone. We have Pride in Progress ribbon cutting. So don't forget, the ambassadors love to come and help you celebrate that occasion. Anybody else? Trisha, you didn't get to introduce yourself whenever we went around the room, and you're relatively new business to the chamber.
I'm not new to the chamber.
No.
My business is new to the chamber. Blue Sky is a construction company who specializes in commercial roofs, restoration, and kind of low asbestos. So if you guys have any problems with your buildings, that's what we do. We're stationed out of Columbia, but we cover the surrounding areas. And plus, we are a national company, so we have a lot more resources than just local, so if you want to talk and learn more about the business, let me know. Or look me up on the chamber, give me a call. I'm open to conversation.
Did I see a big project in town, Lincoln, the president's home?
We
Yes.
actually are renovating that building.
Beautiful.
And actually, it's really close to being complete, so if they have a ribbon cutting, I think there's talks in the ribbon cutting in like that open house. That's up to Lincoln, however, if that's there, I'd encourage all of you guys to go. It's a beautiful historic home, and John's gonna be able to show that, so.
Good. Thank you, Tricia, and I put you on the spot, so.
No worries.
Tricia, I appreciate that. Tricia's very involved in the young professionals, YP, and the chamber as well, so.
I was gonna put a plug for YP.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'll set my boundaries.
Okay.
For anyone who's not a YP member who wants to be a YP member, we're always open to new members. We do have Chamber Walk coming up, if you're gonna be participating in that, we start with the best margaritas. But we do have Professional Summit coming up in September. If any of you guys are interested in that, just feel free to reach out to me.
Very good, good. Okay, well, unless anyone has any other announcements,
Can I
I
jump in?
will say the Friday coffee is always on the second.
There's someone.
I'm sorry, it's John. I got to give a plug for Casino Night. It's one of Jeff City's best fundraisers. It's August 14th. Tickets will be on sale beginning next week, and there's about 400 Blue Tiger Athletic Club members. So if you just ask somebody, they'll point you in the right direction to get tickets. The other thing, I have to make this ask. If you're looking to pursue a graduate degree, we have opportunities right here at Lincoln University. We have a great graduate program in many different areas. I encourage you to explore that, or encourage your employees to explore that as well. If you know high school students that have recently graduated, are unsure what their college plans are, or we all know somebody that maybe went away to school and either got homesick or didn't perform and got swallowed up by a big school, they're welcome here at Lincoln University. And so we'd like to make that known as well. We are going to place a greater emphasis on recruiting right here in mid-Missouri. So please be sure to help share that message. And if they have issues connected with anybody, send them directly to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Mosley. Anybody else on Zoom? Okay. Well, thanks for coming to this Friday coffee. I will, another one?
No, you got one more slide. Oh, sorry. I wanted you to.
I do have one more slide. If it advances, we have to go to the, I was going to announce our next Friday coffee is July 9th. It is in Zoom and also in this room. And our topic is updates on the new building and the changes at our Jefferson City Memorial Airport. So Sean, you want to speak to that? You kind of set that up.
Eric Mallers is the airport manager. And if you haven't been over to the airport lately, the old, with the latest flood 2 years ago now, they had to tear down I call it a terminal, it's the administrative building. Really wasn't the terminal, so they have a nice new administrative building. And the landing also is a restaurant that is almost complete. They can go open their doors here in July. So please join us.
And Jefferson City Flying Service.
Oh, sorry about that. Jefferson City Flying Service. Grant Short Boats will also be with us as well. So we'll give you a big picture explanation and overview of the airport, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Now we're here.
It will be here.
Out there, okay.
It will be here, but it'll be Zoom. And Sean, thank you for setting that up. I think that'll be very interesting. So unless I've forgotten any other announcements, or if anyone else has, we'll just call it a wrap. Good. Thank you, everybody. Glad you're here. I tried to click it forward and it didn't click.
Okay.
So I was just gonna wing it. I was gonna say it, but I was gonna wing it because I didn't see the image because I knew that. That's technology. The trick is don't watch the recording and then you have no idea.